Welcome to 5 Steps in Teaching Theme in Poetry, and write a short constructed for theme in poetry. The credit for the 5 steps I will be showcasing today goes to the ELA Buffet. Note the source listed here at the bottom of the slide should you want to reference it further. I am Yvonne Dominguez, your middle school reading language arts coordinator and presenter for today. So what materials will you be needing for today? You will need a note taker that was emailed to you. Please feel free to download it and print it. And as always, you will need something to write with. Let's get rolling. Let's go with step 1. It's very important that we establish what theme is not and what it is. So what is it not? Theme is just not one word like love or friendship, or a command like you should or you must. Nor is it a cliche, something like don't judge a book by its cover or it's a small world. So if that is what it's not, then what is theme? In short, theme is an observation about life or human nature that the author, or in this case the poet, is trying to share with the reader. We'll be reviewing steps 2 through 5 next. After students read a poem, this is the first thing that they can do. They can look for the subject or topic of the poem, simply ask themselves, what is the subject or topic of the poem? One thing then students can do is make a list of all the possible one-word subjects or topics addressed in the poem. After they've done that, then we move on to step 3. What would be the lesson? What lesson does the speaker or poet want you, the reader, to learn about the subject or topic? As an example, students can be given this sentence starter. The lesson that the poet wants me to learn about the subject or topic is, then we would move on to step 4, the idea or message. What key idea or message does the poet or speaker want to share about the subject or topic? It's very important, though, that students relate it to life in general. They can be provided with this sentence. Perhaps the speaker or poet is trying to show, they would finish off that sentence. Step 4 is, in fact, the actual theme. We've created a thematic statement here. What would be step 5 then? It's very, very important that we provide evidence. What evidence in the poem supports the theme? Students can then prove their idea by providing at least 2 pieces of textual evidence to support the theme. It's very important to remind students that if they cannot find evidence to support their newfound theme, they might have to start over and identify a different one. So ladies and gentlemen, what does this spell out? It spells slime. So this may be a device that students can use when they are trying to find the theme in a literary work. This one will also work for short stories or even dramatic pieces. So again, they might want to use slime, but let's go ahead and put it to practice. I will lead you through an example of how to use slime through a think aloud. Be ready to join in on the thinking as I model it for you. Here we go. When I read a poem, one thing I really like to do is simply start with the title. In this case, it's Cherry Berry. I'm familiar with the fruit, the cherry, but I'm wondering why the word very is there. Very what? Is it one that is very sweet, or maybe it has something to do with the size or color? I'm not completely sure. So I'm going to read it all the way through. Cherry Berry by Heidi Morthurst. Be sneaky, be cheeky, pinch from the kitchen the reddest, the roundest there are. A bowl full of cherries, a bowl of the very most cherriest bombs by far. Backbone straight, step up to the plate, puff of your chest and lungs. Swallow the fruit, ready to shoot, put the pit in the groove of your tongue. One more tip, round your lips to launch it without a hitch. Don't get tense and for the fence, wind up like you're fixing to pitch. Now blast it hard across the yard, kissing the missile goodbye. It's over the fence, it's out of the park. It's a let loose cherry juice, no school, slobber school, spit whistle, summer fun, home run. So now I'll start with the S. Identify the subject or the topic. So think for just a few seconds. Write down a few things if you like. So here are some of the things I came up with, and I'm thinking you may have too. bowl of cherries, eating cherries, spitting out a cherry pit, and the word summer. That's what comes to mind. So let's move on. Let's move on to the L, or the lesson that the poet or speaker wants you to learn about the subject or topic. First, though, I will pick from my list. I'm thinking about the poem itself, and I think that the main thing that stood out to me the most was the spitting out of the cherry pit. The poet really spent time describing how to go about spitting out a cherry from her mouth, so I will select that one. Now it's time to think. What would be the lesson? I invite you to think along with me and think about what would be a lesson. You may feel free to write down some things. So this is what I was thinking. The lesson that the poet wants me to learn is that it takes several steps to spit out a cherry pit over the fence. But what do we do next? Well, now we go a little bit deeper. Remember that we have to somehow connect it to life. So we're ready for the IM, or the message or idea the poet or speaker wants you to learn about the subject or topic. Remember, it's important that we connect it to life. Let me take a look again at the lesson I wrote. It takes several steps to spit out a cherry pit over a fence. But what's the big deal about that? How can I relate it to life? I'm just going to think for a little bit, and I invite you to think along with me and write down a few things. What would be the message or idea the poet or speaker wants me to learn in relation to life? I noticed that the poet was very descriptive about how she spit out the cherry pit. She even uses some terms used in baseball like pitch, step up to the plate, out of the park, and home run. She had lots of fun describing the activity. So maybe, just maybe, perhaps the poet is trying to show that some activities can be appreciated simply for the fun that we can have with them. I have arrived at my theme. I have created a thematic statement, but I have one more step. I have to prove it now. Let's move on to our final step. So now we are moving on to E, or the evidence that supports the theme. I'm confident that this is the theme. Some activities can be appreciated simply for the fun that we can have with them, so I remove the words perhaps the poet is trying to show. Now I need to search for the best text evidence that supports the theme. Let's look together. Search with me. I'll give you some time. Please write down at least 2 pieces of evidence. I think I found the lines that I think best fit with having fun with an activity. The poet says, put the pit in the groove of your tongue. And she also says to launch it without a hitch. And now blast it hard across the yard, kissing that missile goodbye. So those are the lines that I really liked and I think support the theme. So there you have it. We just slimed a poem. Now, if I may, I would like to go back to the S in slime for just a bit. I want to go back, ladies and gentlemen, to the subject or the topic. It may help to provide students with an idea of the common subject or topics in literary text, and of course this includes poetry. I'll quickly share a resource that you may find of use. This one is from the Stellar Teacher. She is in fact one of my very favorites, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at that resource. In this resource in regards to theme or finding the theme, the Stellar Teacher shares some topics or subjects. You notice on that very first column, these are common topics found in literary text. And she also shares some key questions that students can ask themselves when it comes down to that topic. And then in the very last column, you see some related life lessons. So some common topics include friendship, family, kindness, accepting differences. And again, notice the key questions there. I'm not going to go through all of them and read them to you. You can read them for yourselves. Please feel free to stop the webinar if you like, and you can go through them. But the very last column also has some possible related life lessons. Let's take a look at an additional set. So here are some ideas. We have possible topics: sacrifice, bullying, courage, justice, or teamwork. There again, you see the key questions and the related life lessons. I wanted to add as well, when it comes to the related life lessons, students can use those as a basis, and then they can create thematic statements from those. What I'm also going to recommend is that you may consider giving students some of those sample topic or subjects to start with, giving them that one word or words to choose from, so that they can kind of make up their minds as to what they want what they think the overall theme is. So then they can read through that, and then they can choose that topic or subject, and then they can write their own thematic statement. And then of course they would follow up with finding evidence for the thematic statement that they had just written. Just thought I'd give you that idea, give them that topic or subject to work with, and then have them take it from there. So let's continue and see what a short constructed response would look like for theme in poetry, referring back to Cherry Berry. So our short constructed response can read something like, what is the theme of Cherry Berry? Support your answer with the evidence from the selection. So you could start by writing the title of the poem and then directly answering the question by stating the theme. The theme of Cherry Berry is that some activities can be appreciated simply for the fun we can have with them. Then we can give a very quick summary or paraphrase of the poem in relation to the theme. The poet starts by simply eating a cherry, but then proceeds to have fun describing how to have fun shooting out a cherry pit from her mouth. Finally, we write down our evidence. Notice that we have placed quotation marks around the lines or the words we copied from the poem. She says, put the pit in the groove of your tongue and then launch it without a hitch and blast it hard across the yard, kissing that missile goodbye. Let's take a look at that finished product. The theme of Cherry Berry is that some activities can be appreciated simply for the fun we can have with them. The poet starts by simply eating a cherry, but then proceeds to have fun describing how to have fun shooting out a cherry pit from her mouth. She says, put the pit in the groove of your tongue and then launch it without a hitch and blast it hard across the yard, kissing that missile goodbye. In case you're wondering where Cherry Berry came from, ladies and gentlemen, please note that Cherry Berry is the 5th grade star release poem. It was used for this sample lesson so that you, as middle school teachers, can use other star release poems for grades 6 through 8 for lessons on theme. If you would like for me to lead you through this example with maybe some poems that you have selected and you would like my assistance, I will be more than happy to help you with a middle school sample. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. 5 steps in teaching theme in poetry, along with a short constructed response. You know how to find me. You can either text me, you can email me, you can give me a call, and I will be more than happy to assist you in any way that I can. Again, thank you so much for spending part of your day doing this webinar. I really appreciate that. Have a great day.